Okay, so we have the site plan completed. The next drawing that will be coming up is going to be the floor plan. And we're going to call that one X plan. But I just wanted to point out some things to you here so you can think about it. I have a floor plan ready that you may want to use, but you don't have to use it. I want you to have a nice experience here. I want you to draw something that maybe you would be interested in drawing. Whatever modifications you want to make to mine are totally fine, but we're going to keep it very simple and straightforward. This is not a design-based course. This course is to teach you how to take your ideas, use AutoCAD to construct those ideas, and then print them out and make them available for others to see. So we're using the tool here to convey our ideas. That's going to be the focus. So don't be overwhelmed or stressed out about anything design related. Whatever you put in here in terms of a floor plan is going to be just fine. But I'm going to keep it relatively simple. We're going to treat this whole space here, which is two typical City of Chicago lots, as one. And we're going to be putting a building on here. And we're also going to be putting something that we'll refer to as a pergola. And we're going to think of this as more or less as a community garden that we're going to have one individual that will be living on the site. They're going to have a bedroom, they're going to have a bathroom, a kitchen, an area where they can sit, and basically just tending to this community garden. I'm using that as an example just to get you to think about a floor plan, because eventually you have to execute a floor plan in this class and perhaps in other courses that you'll be taking. So I want you to get familiar with creating floor plans. And then you're also going to be placing what I'm referring to as a pergola. And a pergola, I'm just bringing this up as an example. I did a search on pergolas. It's something very simple, very straightforward. So something like this can be done. And it doesn't need to be anything fancy. I don't want you to think of doing anything too fancy because I want you to focus on learning the concepts of SketchUp and of AutoCAD when you do this. So we're going to be using AutoCAD drawings to help with the SketchUp drawing. You probably won't be modeling all of this in AutoCAD. We're just going to draw a rectangle that represents where it's going to be and just give it the general dimensions. And you'll really model this in SketchUp from scratch. But the floor plan, that we're going to use the AutoCAD DWG, bring that into SketchUp, and then model based on that. So nothing that will stress you out. If you're looking at all these examples and going, how am I going to do that? Don't stress. So something like this, very simple, straightforward. It is rectilinear is fine. And you don't have to get into all of the details. It just has to give us the idea that you're putting in this pergola on that space. This here, if you're interested in doing something that has a curved roof like that, that's also possible. But if you want to keep this roof straight, you can certainly do that. So bring it down to a form that you know you'll be able to handle. Something like this, keeping it rectilinear, will also work. So it doesn't have to be anything out of the ordinary. So look online, see what you can find there to give you some inspiration. And then on the site plan, you're just going to be putting the rectangle that represents the footprint of this pergola. So I'm not going to look at too many more. I mean, this one, very straightforward. This one here is attached. Now, if you're thinking of doing something attached, you're more than welcome to execute that. So it doesn't have to be, it could be freestanding. So whatever you'd like to do. But again, keeping it real simple. Here, it looks like somebody modeled this, and this looks like it's SketchUp. Very straightforward. So that's what I want you to think about to keep in mind. Let me minimize this. So on the site will be a building, and there will be that pergola. You can also call it a pavilion. You can also call it an outdoor deck, whatever you'd like to do. But whatever you come up with will be fine. And again, I'm repeating and stressing, don't get caught up in the design of it all. You'll have opportunities to design in other courses. This one is specifically to learn how to use the software to convey your intent. With that said, before you begin the floor plan, I want you to think about where is it that you would be placing the pergola and where would you be placing your building. We're not going to draw it on here. We're going to be externally referencing the floor plan, and then we're just going to put a rectangle to represent the pergola footprint. But I'm going to use two rectangles now to give me an idea of where I'd like to put my building. So on no specific layer, I'll just go back to layer 0 because I'm going to delete this anyway. Think about this, and you can start with the rectangle command, and you can draw a rectangle like this big, and you can just eyeball it like that. And then you can say to yourself, all right, I want my pergola there, and I want my building, let's say, over here like this. You can just lay this out, do a rectangle like this. If you do that, then you have an idea of the overall size. And then you can come over here to the measure tool, click on measure, quick measure. You can look at this and go, okay, it looks like you're making that about 22 feet square. Or if you want, you can make it 22 feet by 20 feet, whatever you want, but I would stick with round numbers. The building, this one is 44 by 28, roughly. So you get an idea of what you're going to do. And then if you really wanted to, you could come back to the rectangle here, and I'll just click right over here and I'll type in D for dimensions, and I'll make it 22 feet, enter, by 20 feet, enter. And then which side? I'll put it on that side. I'll take this one and simply delete. And then this rectangle, there is a way you can stretch this out, but sometimes that takes a little bit longer. And for me, it's just easier to check those dimensions, 44 by 28. So I'm going to round up to 45 by 30. I'll click on it, delete, come over here, and I'll just click here, 45 feet, enter, 30 feet, enter. It didn't take it, or it did. What happened? What did I do wrong? I did something wrong. That's okay. Try again. Rectangle, and then I'll click here, and then D for dimensions, and then this will be 45 feet by 30 feet, and then I'll just click it here. So that is a little more refined. So you get an idea of where you'd like to place it. And then what's really nice about this is I can go ahead and type M, enter, and I can move my objects. I can put it over here. And here's another thing you could do. See how I just kind of gripped all that? There's a way, technically, I think, that I can just click and drag it, just moving it around. I've not shown this to you before because I didn't want you doing that, but now that we're kind of freely moving things around, I can just click and drag. Hang on a second. And I can't pick on any of the grips. I have to pick on the line. So click it and drag it. I can move it here. I can put my pergola there, like this. Yeah. And maybe you don't want your building oriented that way. Let's say I go to rotate, R-O, enter, select my building, enter. I'll pick this middle point. Oh, check this out. Watch this. Shift right click, geometric center. That's cool. The geometric center of this rectangle, pick it, and then I can rotate. And then I'll just hold down the shift key. I don't have ortho on, so holding down shift will lock me in and constrain me to 90 degrees, and I'll give it a click. And then I can move this and place it, let's say, somewhere here. Now, be very careful. Don't go too close to the edge because remember, you need a bit of a distance. So I would say hold off at least 3 feet on both sides, and then you should be okay. And then also think about, these are garages back here. Do you want your building that far back? And then you'll also need, you don't need a garage, but this is where they do the pickup of trash. So maybe you're thinking about putting a fence here to create that privacy. Maybe you're thinking about a fence on both sides. I don't know. I just want you to be a little creative, but don't get too caught up in the design. So this is a way to kind of start to look at your footprints of your buildings, and then based on that, you can go ahead and start generating your floor plan. And you can leave this on here. or, delete it, or sometimes what we do, I'll just type M, enter, and I'll pick these two objects and I'll just move them right over here off screen. And then the next time I go to print, I don't see them, and that's okay. Or I can even do this under layer properties. I can go over here to my layer properties manager, new layer, and I'll just call this one temp, just like that. I'll make it red just so I know. Click OK. And then I'll take these two objects. I'll put them on that layer. And then I'll take that layer. Let me tap the escape key. And then I'll take that layer and I'll freeze it. And then AutoCAD does not recognize the layer. And then I'll zoom extents. And there we go. I just know that the objects are there. And if I need to bring them back, or I want to make some more studies here, I'll just thaw that layer. I know I left it over here on the side, and continue to work with it, or place other rectangles. And if you're not comfortable doing rectangles, then go and draw polylines. So come down here to the draw menu, and where's my polyline? Where are you? Where are you? I don't use this much. Apologies. That's array. No, where did it go? You know what? Let me just do this. Let me just type PL. No. Polyline. Yeah, it's a P line. Sorry. So P line, and then just draw lines. So I'll go from here, take it across. Let me turn ortho on. Let's say I want the length on this to be 50 feet. So I type in 50 feet. I take it up this way. Maybe I want that to be 30 feet. I've got my O track on. Track that point. Type C for close. And that's another way to generate the rectangle. It's a closed polyline. So a lot of options to think about. I'll take this object, and I'll tell you what, I'll just click and drag it over here. And then I'll type MA to match properties. I'll match the properties of this object to that one and enter. And just to reiterate, you are not going to draw your floor plan on the site. We're going to do it as a separate drawing, but you do need to know how it is that you would like to orient it, because you'll want to start drawing it that way in AutoCAD. All right, so that's just an intro to the semester assignment to think about and how you can proceed with that process. And you are welcome to sketch everything out by hand if you want, and then follow your hand sketch drawing to generate the floor plan. All right, that's all for now. Thank you.